We
And
have the
from,
ones from
that's what I was,
9/14.
yeah, I was going to ask you
Yep.
for the dates. I don't remember.
So I have 9/14 and March 9th.
Right. So I can make a motion to approve the minutes from our last 2 meetings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
I bet you did a great job, Erica.
They're fantastic minutes. They're beautiful
Perfect.
minutes.
I know they are. Let's see. So we approved our minutes. Do you want to give us a quick rundown, Anthony, of where we're at as far as the programming?
Yeah, so we have a few things going on right now. Adult volleyball is going to move to Sundays. Just with the weather changing, they kind of want more time, so they're going to go in the afternoon. And they have 9 people right now going for that. They're going to go as long as the weather allows. Squirt soccer, we have 1 more week of that left. We've got 17 kids total, and then the academy's been coming every week with a couple of kids to kind of help out coaches. Dawn's been doing yoga at the Grange. She's got 9, and she's been looking into trying to do like a virtual option for the winter. So she's been kind of playing around with that during this class to kind of see if it works. So we're going to look into that as a possibility. And then the last thing we have going on is the girls basketball clinic. So we're doing the 2 sessions. We've got 7 in each. I've been coaching the first session, and then Jim Reynolds and John Tremblay are doing the second. So that's been going pretty well. It's been pretty smooth. With only an hour, it goes by pretty fast, which is nice.
That's great. And was that a paid program?
Yeah, so we charge $25 for that. And what our plan is to do is if we can't have a winter league, we would do something like that similar in the spring again, and then do it for the boys side and then the K through 4th as well.
That's great.
So we kind of did this like as a trial to see if there was interest and if it would go.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a way to at least keep some of the kids that want to stay engaged.
Yeah, so that for that one, we've been having kids wear masks throughout the whole practice. They just kind of came like that, and then we just kind of left it. Squirt soccer, we haven't. So with basketball, it's just been kind of like simple drills. We've been doing no running because you can't really run with the mask on.
Yep. Well, and soccer's outside too, right?
Yeah, well, both are outside. We're doing the basketball at the church by the academy.
Oh, I didn't realize that that was outside.
Yeah, so we're doing that outside because the middle school right now, the way it's set up, won't let any outside groups into the gym.
Okay. Sorry, my dog's really killing me. That's great. So that pretty much takes care of all of our current programs, correct?
Yeah, we don't really have a whole lot upcoming. I'm not really sure what we're going to be able to run for the winter. Right now, we're kind of in the process of trying to get ski club running, but we've had issues with kind of hearing back from Wachusett and confirmation on how many kids we can bring up. And the last update we got is they're probably going to have it at 50% capacity, so only 50 kids this year would be able to go up.
How would that go with the bus too?
Yeah, how would that go? Would they have less capacity on the bus? Because each bus holds 50?
No, so I called the busing company and they don't have any regulations set in place, so it would just be up to us of what we would want to do. They wouldn't require 1 to a seat, but what we would probably do is have the kids wear masks on the bus. The only thing that they have is they are blocking off the front 2 seats. So we could only bring up 52 people is what they said per bus.
Could we charge more and rent 2 buses and spread the kids out?
We could, but it would probably become pretty costly if we did that. That would be the only issue there.
Seems like a lot of kids on one bus.
I think it would be worth it to get pricing for 2 buses and dividing it by 50 two kids?
I can look back at, because they said that they're going to keep the same rates as last year. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. I'd have to look back
I
what
mean,
it was.
as a parent of someone whose kids have done ski clubs since they were in 5th grade in middle school, if you said that it was going to cost me another $125 or $150 to send my child to ski club to have 2 buses where kids would be more spread out, I would pay that. And most people that ski regularly are used to skiing being kind of a more expensive type sport. I don't really know how else to say it. It's pricey. And
Yeah.
what the school offers is a bargain. So to pay another $100 to maybe have a second bus, especially if you're going to take half the amount of kids, I still kind of feel pretty confident that you would fill it.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's,
I'm wrong, but I
yeah,
feel like
so
you could fill it.
it would just be up to us on the busing front, so we could do that. And it's just to waiting on Wachusett because there's been no like real confirmation on how many kids we can bring up.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that it might still be a possibility. I just think packing 50 teenagers on a bus and expecting them to not take their masks off is just probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it would be a
Right, I
lot. I
mean-
would,
That's a lot to expect.
yeah, so that is one thing we can look at because it would be up to us is kind of how the busing companies worded it.
Yep. Nope, that makes sense. I totally get it. I'm just thinking if we could have 2 buses, might make parents feel more comfortable.
I think if
Yeah.
it was expressed on the flyer that the reason for the price increase would be that,
Correct.
you know, and they didn't just think that we were like doubling the price randomly, you know, and that
Right.
hopefully the following year we wouldn't be in the same situation. So it's not like something that would continue to be a higher price, and it would just be because of everyone understands this being such a strange year. We could see how it goes.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and it'd be great too if you could like somehow, you know, the kids are split so that it's always the same 25 kids on the same bus each week. If that makes any sense, that might be another safety protocol. Like,
Yeah,
hey, you know, these kids are always on bus A, just to kind of lessen the flip-flopping of kids jumping buses.
Yeah, we could almost do it by school. Like one could be for the middle school and one could be for the academy.
Okay, so we'll hear more about that.
Yeah, it's been like 3 weeks now and it's been kind of back and forth and nothing from Wachusett. So we're hoping to hear back soon just to get the word out.
Okay. All right, I can also ask, I wonder if Kevin Brody, if Wendy's husband might have any insight as he works up there. And he's in charge of the ski team for the academy. So he may
Mhm.
have some insight as to what's going on. So if you don't hear back maybe in another week, shoot me an email and then I'll see if I can maybe like do a little digging about that.
All right, I can do that.
See what happens. All right, we don't really have much to talk about past programs, right? Because we did that last time. There's nothing really happening. So how
Yeah,
about,
nothing.
yeah,
I have Halloween trick or treat on the list of upcoming programs from the last meeting for
Yeah.
October 30th, and then trunk or treat at Roseland Park.
right.
So that got moved from upcoming because I got an email from Lori and they're canceling trick or treat at Roseland Cottage.
Kind of
That
thought
came up
that
like the day after our meeting. I think we
Yeah.
talked about it, and then the announcement came out that they were canceling that one.
Yeah, so what I've been doing is just kind of marketing and posting on the website for what Amy's doing at the Grange and then that trunk or treat at Roseland Park as well.
Great. Okay. And I think the Academy Student Council, I think they're still doing something. They're just not doing like the trick or treat street like inside the actual like building. But the kids, I know Morgan's been on several different meetings. They're trying to figure out something like in the parking lot or something. Or like a drive-by kind of thing.
Are they trying to do it when they would traditionally do the trick or treat street? Do you know?
I
Or
think
do
so,
they have a
like
date?
that Friday night before
Mhm.
Halloween. Yeah. So they're trying to come up with a safe like alternative.
Is trick or
I don't know
treat still
much.
a go in Woodstock? Like, are we still doing that?
I think it's up to you.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think because that's not really organized by the town, so it's not something they could officially cancel. But I think whenever I see people ask, they're just kind of like, well, the same that you would normally do. You only go to houses that have their lights on and look like they want people to come. So I saw, I can't remember, I guess, I don't know if it was WINY or whatever. I saw how the Dazzle Light Parade, they're trying to do like, they're doing a reverse Dazzle Light Parade. So they still have something for that in Putnam, but it's going to be people drive through and see the decorated floats.
Instead of,
Instead of the parade going by, so there's not people gathered out on the streets. So maybe something when the Academy figured, like a driving
It is-
through kind of thing is.
yeah,
isn't-
and I think that's what it is, Marie. It's more something like you would come through and they would have, normally they have their themed rooms. So like
Right.
each club would still have their theme, but you'd just be passing through, basically. Something outside.
Right. I thought of this week when I was driving through Pomfret to get Dylan at work. It looks like Pomfret and maybe some other towns are having like a scarecrow contest. I know that at least one year Woodstock had that, and I think it was through the rec department. Do you know like why that stopped? Was there just not a lot of participation, or why we don't do that anymore?
I'm not sure. So I remember when Shannon Reynolds was the rec director,
Mhm.
we still had that. It was
Okay.
open to any Woodstock resident, and you could make a scarecrow and put it on the green, the common,
Yeah.
by the light at 171. You know where I'm talking?
I
That was-
remember, yeah, because I remember
Yeah.
one of the people we had as a Cub Scout leader, she did one with her den and had it over there, and I remember seeing them.
right, and we bought prizes.
Yeah.
So the rec department bought prizes to give out. And I don't really know why we didn't have it. Like when Crystal took over, I just don't know if it's just something that she didn't continue with. I don't
Mhm.
know if there wasn't enough interest. I do remember one year we moved it to Roseland Park,
Okay.
which was kind of cool. And I don't know what happened to it. It just sort of fizzled. It'd be cool to bring
Okay.
back for next year.
Yeah, I think so. And I was thinking, oh man, that would have been great if I had thought of it and remembered it, just because of that's something that's totally social distance. People can just drive through town and see them, and you could have a map, or at Roseland Park, drive around and see them, or whatever. Like, I wish I had thought of it last month when we were talking or whenever, but
Right.
it would be nice to bring that back, because that's something that families can do, and then it just an extra thing around town for people to go see.
Hmm. And save that idea because we still might need it next year.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, and I think I still have everything on the computer that she did from there, so I can pull that up for next year.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to bring back.
Yeah, the Girl Scout troop built scarecrows in front of the Arboretum this year. So they just
Oh,
did that
okay.
like 2 weeks ago.
I
if you
saw it.
drove
It's
by.
really cute.
They
they
survived the
flew over.
windstorm.
I didn't know if the reason it stopped was because of how like the fair has their scarecrow contest, and if people felt like they already did one in the fall, like they did one for the fair. I didn't know if that was the
Oh.
reason, if it just people who would do it weren't going to do it again. I wasn't sure what the reasoning had been.
I think it just fell by the wayside.
Okay,
Yeah.
makes
I don't
sense.
think-
Things happen.
I don't remember like any specific thing that would have caused it to stop.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Honestly, it's probably good it wasn't this year. It probably could have gotten really political or something.
Yeah,
So.
totally. Grateful for that, right?
Yep.
How about do we have any information on our movie event, which it's probably too cold for something outside now, but What happened with that, Anthony?
Yeah, so the church did approach us about partnering. The only difficult part, if we were to do that, is going to be on the marketing side. So under their license, they can only market through the church and on church property, and they can't disclose what the movie is. They can only put like creative like things about describing what the movie is, and then you have to call the church to find out what they're showing.
I didn't understand that really. Is that for the church, or is that just all they were allowed to with the amount of money they paid to be able to show a movie? I didn't really get that when I read it.
So I don't really understand it fully either, but it's my understanding is it's how their license is set up to show the movies is how it's written in, like, I guess their contract, so to speak. But I don't know why for their license they can't disclose what the movie is. She just said that it can only be like creatively describing it, and if you want to know what the movie is, you have to call the church.
And then
So
is there an issue with us partnering with a church at all? Like, is that being the rec department, are we supposed to, can we partner with like religious organizations? Because I was wondering about that too.
Yeah, so I talked to Jay and he said there wouldn't be a problem with it. His just concern and mine was just you can't really market anywhere else besides the church. So I don't know how on our end we would get the word out.
Right.
How does like Thompson Recreation, when they show like current movies, how do they show them and advertise? Like they're advertising the name and everything. How are they
Right.
doing
Totally
that?
different license, I guess. Like,
So what Thompson and Pomfret did is they bought all their own equipment. They both said it was like around $500 total. So they show their own movies, and I think what Pomfret does is she pulls it up like on her phone or something and rents the movie.
So she actually rents the movie. So how come there's licensing with the church, but there's not licensing for like those departments?
I think I didn't ask the church, but I'm gonna guess that the church doesn't own the equipment and they probably get it from whatever the company is, and that's why there's a license. And then the rec departments own all their own equipment and show and kind of stream it independently.
I mean, I have a projector that like we can just hook up to our laptop and
Right.
show DVDs. So I'm not really, I mean, I don't know how much the projectors actually cost, but it would seem to make more sense if it was something that a rec department wanted to do every year to purchase a projector, or you borrow one from someone and not have to go through whatever setup that the church seems to be having to do. Because that seems so limiting,
I think that it would be a great idea for us to really think about the movies going forward, and perhaps in the springtime purchase the necessary equipment, and then we could show movies throughout the summer and even in the spring in different locations. Like maybe the Pink House would let us show a movie on the lawn there, like a period type children's movie or something. Maybe we could do something at the park where we can show an outdoor movie at the park. There's lots of different options. And I think that it would be a good investment.
I agree. I think between the little bit of funds you could charge people to set up a picnic blanket and watch the town movie, or, basic kind of concession sales, if we're allowed to do that at some point, like a popcorn or hot chocolate, we could probably strategically recover some of those initial costs quickly.
that Hallmark movie that was just filmed in Woodstock,
That would be so fun.
right.
Totally.
Yeah, and I talked to Lori, and I know that she would be open to us showing a movie there anytime.
Yeah, I remember you said that the last meeting, so I think that would be great. And I do think that it wouldn't be a huge investment to buy the equipment, and it would be something really fun to offer, like to families and whatever. Like you said, throughout the warm weather, we have plenty of months after the winter to start doing that. We could make a lot of use out of it.
Yeah, and we could do it kind of monthly.
Yeah, I just think it's a great idea, just especially if we're still all doing this, come spring. And like next summer, people are really going to be looking for alternative family fun.
Right. And you said you were able, like, they were able to spread everyone out for the concerts at Roseland Cottage. So the same idea that you could spread people out on blankets by family and, show a movie. I think that would be really nice.
Yeah, and we'd have plenty of space to kind of mark everything out for distancing there.
Yep.
But that was kind of how me and Jay felt like when we were talking about that. It would just make more sense for the rec department if we were going to do it often to purchase our own equipment, just because there were so many kind of challenges with doing it through the church.
Yeah, it sounded very complicated. I was reading it and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just need to talk about this at the next
Right.
meeting because I don't get why it's like that. So
Yeah, I would be all for purchasing equipment.
I would
it seems like a
support that
lot
as
of other
well.
towns are doing it, and a lot of people, even from Woodstock, are going to other towns to watch the movies that people are putting out through different rec departments or other organizations. So I think people would love to see it come here.
Yeah, I know talking to both Thompson and Pomfret, they each said they'd recommend buying your own equipment. And they just said it's easier. And I know Barbara runs it quite often.
Yeah, and it's something we could even do for the seniors.
Yeah.
Like it just makes sense. I think we could do it for the seniors, like downstairs in the town hall, and just project it onto the wall, and they could have movies. So I definitely say, look into it, come up with like pricing, and maybe we can vote on something like that.
Yeah, I'll look into it, and then I can, for the next meeting, kind of present what I can find for pricing on everything.
Great. That's awesome. And then the only other thing that you really had on here, Anthony, was you said facility use fees for fields.
Yeah, so Barbara and Pomfret approached me kind of over email 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she was just asking what we charge for people to use for our fields, because I guess there's been some complaints in Pomfret that they're charging travel leagues and they're playing for free in Woodstock. So
Which fields and who owns them?
So the two fields that we would kind of be looking into would be the soccer field at Senexit Village, and then the baseball field by the middle school are really the only two fields that get used by travel leagues.
Baseball field by the middle school, do you mean for soccer, like in between there, or is it actual baseball?
No, so there's the actual baseball field down there, and Dave Smith and the Connecticut Mustangs team, they're the ones that use that field quite often.
And they're using it at no charge, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so right now everybody uses it for free, and then I looked kind of through the other towns, and what Pomfret does is she charges like AAU and travel leagues, and she does like $25 a day. Putnam doesn't charge anything. Thompson doesn't right now, but they're looking at implementing fees. Same with Brooklyn, and then Killingly's the only one that has like facility use fees set up right now.
So is the field at Senexit owned by the town?
Yeah, that's a town field.
Okay. And that baseball field you're talking about is not part of the middle school?
Yeah, that's maintained by the highway department.
Okay.
All right, so it's a question of whether or not we want to charge for people to use our fields.
Yeah, and when I talked to Jay, it would be more or less like for the spring, and we were looking at more of like the travel leagues. Like we wouldn't charge any of the rec teams or like Nikon Rec Soccer. We wouldn't look to charge them as well.
Okay. I mean, I think I would be fine with it. People pay a lot of money for their kids to do those like AAU teams. It's a lot of money. Where does the money go if they're just pocketing it all and they have no expenses because all their fields are free?
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I think the leagues could afford with the like thousands of dollars that people pay a year to be in those leagues. I'm sure they could pay the $25 a day use of the fields and it'll help the town.
I was going to say, what does it cost to maintain the fields? Like the town is going to be paying for that cost, right? So at least recouping the cost of maintaining and keeping the fields in good working order would make sense.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, it would just be another way to kind of help with that, since we're not really running any programs and there's not really much revenue coming in right now.
Correct.
So is that something we would like vote on to make that official, or how does that come about?
We can. I mean, I can look at too. I don't really have like any prices set out. Like I haven't really come up with anything like that. So I don't know if you want me to do that first before we vote on anything.
Yeah, I think we should, and then we can have that be part of the vote, like what we're going to charge. If
Yeah,
Jay thinks that that is something that we have the power to vote on.
yeah, he seemed to. Yeah, that's what he said we did, and he was kind of agreeing with me towards trying to set up some sort of fee, just because there's nothing in place right now.
Okay.
But our thought was for the spring, because it's obviously a little too late right now.
Yeah, because
No,
it gives them the option
I
of
agree.
deciding if they're going to use our fields or not.
Yeah,
Versus
so what I'm
springing
gonna
it on
do,
them now.
I looked through all the towns. I kind of presented him with all the information, and then he went to Rich Roberts to just get the legal perspective of kind of what he thought.
So the question is procedurally, can we vote to charge a fee, and how does that work implementing it? What fee would we charge, or what would the amount be? And specifying who would be charged in the language of whatever we vote on, clarifying it doesn't apply to rec programs or local club kind of stuff.
Yeah, because that's what we figured. We don't really want to charge any rec teams. It's just kind of those travel teams that are paying a ton of money to kind of use the field for free right now.
Yeah, I think that that's only fair.
But then the problem we kind of ran into is like a question would be like, what would you do for Nikon? Because Nikon has travel leagues and then they have rec leagues. So it's kind of, they have both.
Not anywhere as close in price. Like you pay like
Yeah.
$100 to be on the Nikon Travel League for the year, and you pay like over $1,000 to be on the other one. So definitely a difference in level of cost for the families.
Correct. And I think that would be a fair way to break it out. Like, it seems very reasonable.
Yeah, because I know Thompson didn't have any rates yet. Killingly was like, I think it was like $50 for 3 hours for soccer and baseball fields. Brooklyn was looking to charge like anywhere from $500 for rec leagues and then $1,000 for travel leagues. So they were kind of a higher rate.
And they were just doing it for
Okay.
like the whole season for the league and unlimited use.
Yeah, so that would be for the whole season. They don't have it set up yet. They're hoping to have that set up in the spring.
Right, but it sounds like all the towns are going to be moving towards the same page come the spring.
Yeah,
Um,
everybody right now except for Putnam, it looks like, is making the move to start implementing facility use fees if they don't already have it set up.
Okay. Then
I
I
think it'd be
think it's
interesting.
fair.
I think it would just be good to find out if there was, like if a fee is set up, then I'm assuming change to if there's already a contract they sign for use, but if then there's any expectation on their end of if we're paying this, then this will always be maintained in this way, or like what we're promising
Right.
so that we're not held accountable for something that we don't already normally do that wouldn't make extra work and extra cost for us too.
Very good point.
Yeah, because that was the other kind of legal side, is that you have to make sure that if you're charging for fees, that everything is, well kept. There's no kind of issues with the maintenance of the fields.
Parking and whatever else they would normally expect,
Right.
I guess.
And thinking about the terms of the agreement too, a full year of access versus a specific season of play or sport. I mean, I don't know if we would want to commit ourselves to a full year-long relationship with a league or have some kind of opt-out in case something goes wrong or there's some kind of issue. I wonder about that legally as well.
Yeah, I would almost say it'd probably be best to do it like per season, because like baseball is usually, I think they're spring and fall, and then they always submit like what their schedule is and what their practices are. So it could either be like for season or it could be like a daily thing.
Yeah, because then it also affects like our rec teams. If we gave them, you got it for the season, they would probably want to take advantage of as much as possible since they're paying, and we need to, it's always a tight squeeze when the coaches are like, I'm trying to get a practice in, but these nights are all taken. So I feel like I'd be more comfortable if we did it per the hour or day, and so that they didn't kind of have blanket use or feel as though they did, and could take, fill the schedule as much as possible. So
I think the other thing to think about too, given the circumstances with COVID changing on a regular basis, sort of what happens if a season gets canceled because of state regulations, or we have to stop in the middle of a league season or something. It might be worth thinking also about how to navigate that. So maybe, Marie, to your point, a more short-term agreement for use on specific terms like hours, so that might be better than a longer-term agreement. There's no long-term planning right now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely think it requires a little bit more research.
Yeah,
little
and I
bit
can do
more
it. I figured I would just kind of present for now what our thoughts were and then what other towns are doing.
Right. And what's the worst that can happen? They can say like, okay, we don't want to rent your fields. Well, then that's less wear and tear on our fields. Like, they're not paying us now anyway.
Right. We're not losing anything that we've been.
We're not losing anything.
Right.
Because the other thing I wanted to see too is what the academy charges for like Bentley for outside groups.
Okay. Do outside groups use Bentley? Yeah.
There are a few that I know of. I know like
So.
we've directed soccer clubs that use those fields.
Okay. All right, good to know. Yeah, so check with them. Maybe we can kind of be consistent.
Would the other towns be willing to share versions of what they're drafting up for their agreements or their terms or how they're structuring it, so that we could kind of do a survey of comparable agreements? You said Pomfret has one, right?
Yeah, I could ask. I think all of them are actually, I think Pomfret's, Killingly, and Brooklyn, I think they all have like facility use contracts on their website.
Oh, great.
So we could just review those
Copy.
and kind of compare them.
Yeah, I know Killingly does for sure. I'm pretty sure Pomfret does, and I think Brooklyn does as well.
Well, that makes it easy. That should, give us a really good idea of what we need to put for our language.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure all those. I know Putnam doesn't have anything up. Thompson doesn't yet. Thompson their board was split on what they kind of wanted to do. So they were still in the planning stages.
Great.
And then I know we have a contract that we have as well that I can kind of compare to all those other ones as well.
Perfect. Is there anything else that you can think of that's coming up that we might need to discuss?
Not really. I mean, I'm kind of struggling of figuring out of what we're going to be able to do this winter for programs.
Right. I know it's just hard when there aren't facilities that want people on their property. With the winter, unless we're going to try to take a stab at like some virtual programming, I just don't know how we would pull that off.
I think Teague is trying to do some sort of like teen hangout online thing. Because when I went on a meeting with the Thompson Library, a representative from Teague had come on saying that they're trying to start some stuff online. I think that one might have been more middle school directed, but then I thought I saw a post from them about something and I couldn't tell what age group it was for, but it does seem like they're trying to offer something online for the middle school or high school age kids. I don't know how much of a response.
Yeah, I saw that they have like a drama club too that's starting up to like age 16, like through Teague. But yeah, I mean, unless we really want to think about how we can do some virtual programming.
Trivia night. We'll build a bunch of Kahoots.
Yeah. Or things for kids, but the problem is like kids are already having so much screen time.
I know.
I don't know that they would really pay to have more screen time.
Right.
Have you talked to other towns, Anthony, to see what other towns are thinking about for winter programming?
We were having like a Zoom conference call with all the rec directors. We haven't had that for probably like a month now. So I'm not really sure what everyone's doing for the winter.
It might be worth it to reach out and just find out, like, what are other towns doing? How are they, handling, like, the lack of space for programming?
Because I looked a little bit today. I looked through Thompson and Pomfret. They're not really doing much. Pomfret was they had like a couple things for sports. They had like a Zoom cooking class. Thompson was just doing like mainly like Halloween themed like events and activities at the end of the month. And then they didn't have anything else listed.
I think the other challenge too is if we're doing virtual programming, we won't, I mean, it's a good and a bad thing, but we won't just be competing to draw attention to our virtual programs here in town or with neighboring rec programs, but access to virtual programs now, you can participate in programs throughout communities in the whole country, right? Like my girls are doing program stuff with Washington, D.C. organizations because it's virtual and they can. So I worry about the saturation of virtual programming because there's so many options, but it could be a benefit because even if we can't create our own unique virtual programs for whatever reason, resources or just, bandwidth, maybe we could put together a resource of virtual programs for people in Woodstock targeting different groups. So we could do some of the work to cultivate the list and say, hey, here's this really cool free virtual program for seniors or teens or whatever that someone else is already putting on and just help promote it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And just kind of push that through our like Facebook page or even have it as like a link on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can look through that and start doing that because that's been the thing. It's getting to that time of year where I've been like not sure what we're going to be able to do because we're not going to be able to run anything outside anymore and we don't really have inside space for anything.
Right. Now, the yoga person, how come she doesn't want to continue to do in person?
She does. There just hasn't been like a whole bunch of people registering. So her hope is that would increase the participation numbers.
But even still, like I'm also utilizing the Grange right now. And like the maximum capacity for that space to have people 6 feet apart and they should still be wearing a mask because they're indoors, is maybe 12 participants max. And you said that she's getting 9.
Yeah, she has 9 right now.
So I'm just letting you know that that is almost maximum for that space. She really can't have many more than 12.
Does she think if she moves it online, more people would sign up and she could do it virtually
Right.
with more people?
I think that's what the hope is.
Mm-hmm.
So the benefit of having it at the Grange is that it does get people out of the house or gives them that break in space away from virtual program too.
And
Maybe
I
she's
think
worried about the winter weather and just not as many people venturing out once it gets colder or icier.
I think her plan too is to kind of have both options. So you could do either virtual or the in-person one.
That'd be great.
So that's kind of what she's looking into doing for the winter session.
Perfect. Right, so if we could still keep that going, that would be nice.
Yeah, because other than yoga, I don't really know what else we would have for in-person programs.
Right, hard.
Can you have things where people bring their own supplies? Like I'm thinking of craft-based stuff where you're not, active necessarily and you can maintain a reasonable social distance in the space, but you bring your own supplies to do the craft or the activity. Like my daughter just learned how to crochet today and that was very cool for her. So like if she had her own crochet hook and her own yarn and could come and learn from someone, like are there things like that we could do?
We could, and it just would depend on like if we can keep using the Grange, because I know it's going to be a while before they're going to let us use the town hall and that space downstairs.
What if we could do something like outside in the month of November or end of November, like at the park, where people could like make a wreath or something. I don't know, grasping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could reach out to Symphony because we used to do. I know Chris was doing classes with them before.
Right. What if there was a way that we could do something outside or like a Thanksgiving centerpiece? I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's
mean it's
something
worth a
like
shot.
that.
Maybe if they had the supplies already separated per person, like set up, because normally when you do something with them, they just have it
Right.
all like, piled on the table there. But if it was something that no one was sharing supplies and you were outside and they were all at separate little tables or
Right.
spots.
Yeah,
Guess
like
it's
if you
also
signed
weather
up with your
dependent.
friends, you know, if you and your friends signed up or another person in your family, you could be at the same table.
Hmm.
So it might take a little bit more work on their part, like you said, to like separate out supplies, but it might be something that people might be interested in.
Yeah, I mean it's worth a try.
What about like a gingerbread house contest where they could make them, bring them, set them, leave them on display in a place where people can see them, you know, visit them, and then vote on them and we can give prizes. I'm thinking of the scarecrow idea, right? So we aren't maybe in time to do the scarecrows, but what about like a gingerbread structure contest?
Maybe at the barn at Roseland, they would let them be on display for a day or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he would be down for that. Maybe
Yeah,
Maybe
I
they
that's
could even be pictures posted, so people that don't
correct.
go in person, we could still
Yeah.
have a contest. Like they all get dropped off somewhere or whatever. We take pictures, we post them, and people can vote.
Right.
But it would be like the scarecrows, like something that families can do together, and we could have age categories, like a kid one, adult, a family one. Because I know when I went to Old Sturbridge Village last year, they had the different categories. So there were the ones that were made solely by kids, some that were adults, some that were made by a family, and it was just fun to see everyone's creativity.
Maybe that could be our thing instead of the Winter Festival.
Yeah, I'm so sad about
Yeah.
that.
No, me too. But maybe that could be the thing, Anthony. And we partner with the park on it. And yeah, we can display them in the barn, or there's a day where they'll be displayed around the park. But in addition, there's all pictures, on our Facebook page.
Can organizations build one as a team and submit one?
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah,
thing
we
is
could
then
do
that
that.
would be something fun to add into when we can go back to having the winter festival. It would be something that we had started this year as part of the tradition.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
no,
a
I like that
great
idea.
idea. That's a
Yeah, I'll
really,
reach out
really
to
great
Rick and-
idea.
I'll reach out to Rick and get his thoughts, but I'm sure he'd be open to that.
And then we could pull back in the business association, because the different businesses could enter in their in a category, and it would be still a way that this year we're still partnering with them in some way, or acknowledging them, even if it's not really, still promoting them in that way,
Exactly.
Great
All
idea.
That's a great idea.
That's
Meeting
the
of
one.
the mind.
That's all I got.
It was
A good one. You can retire.
No,
No,
we
we
can't
need
lose
to.
anyone else.
Maybe that should be a point of discussion too. Do we need another person? Should we be recruiting someone?
You
Yeah,
mentioned someone last time, Anthony, didn't you, that was interested?
Yeah, John Murdoch, that was like a year ago when he expressed interest, so I can see if would
Okay.
still have the time.
Lead with the gingerbread contest. I think that's a good one.
Right.
He gets to sample them.
To be a judge. Awesome. All right. Well, what do you think? Do we have anything else that we need to go over?
I think that's probably pretty much everything.
Okay. All right. That's great. All right. So you'll circle back, right? Should we meet again next month? Probably.
Yeah, we can do that. That way we can kind of I'll reach out to Rick, try to put something together for the gingerbread for next
Sure.
meeting.
All right. And if you need to email us in the meantime, feel free to email.
All right.
Okay. Shall I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:51?
Yes, you shall.
Excellent. Everyone's in favor.